Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the 2025 housing market outlook and what I think the housing market is going to look like in the coming year. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Is it going to become more of a neutral market? What's going to happen? Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or you just like to look at the market and see what's going on. This video is definitely for you, so make sure you stick around to the end and see what my opinions are for you, whether or not you should buy, whether you should sell, or whether you should stay on the sidelines and just continue to wait. In today's video, we'll go over trends, prices, rates, and I'll help you decide whether to buy, sell, or just wait. So let's jump into it. So before we can look ahead at the 2025 market, we have to look at the market right now in 2024 and what this market is like. So right now, in November of 2024, when I'm shooting this video, we are still very much in a seller's market. We have limited inventory. We are still seeing over asking price in some offers. We're still seeing multiple offers in some situations if the house is priced right. It's in move-in ready condition. However, we are seeing signs that the Kenosha area market is starting to cool. We're seeing higher days on market. We're seeing a little more inventory start to creep on the market. And we're starting to see prices start to flatten out a little bit. They're not as high as they were the last few years. So that's where the market is right now. Plus, the Fed has cut rates twice so far in 2024, and it looks like they may do it again in December. We'll see what happens. If you were to buy a house right now in 2024, you're more than likely going to face a lot of other buyers in the market right now, just because there's not a lot of inventory, and when there is inventory, the house is usually really nice, and there's just a lot of buyers fighting for it. So that's why that's why we're still seeing multiple offers and a lot of times over asking price on that house, especially if the house is priced right and it's in move-in ready condition. Those houses are still flying off the market. Now we are seeing some of that opposite effect where if sellers are pricing the house over what buyers think is a good value, those houses are starting to sit on the market a little bit longer. It's not like in 2021 and 2020 where buyers are just scooping up everything that comes to the market. Buyers are a little more picky right now in 2024, and I expect to see that happening into 2025, where buyers are a little more picky. They're not gonna just buy everything that comes on the market. They're gonna wait for that perfect house to come on the market. Just because interest rates are a little high right now, that they have the time to wait, they're not gonna rush into anything. So expect buyers to be a little more picky moving forward, and expect house sales to slow just a little bit. But nobody has that crystal ball, and nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see what the future brings. So will 2025 stay a seller's market, or will it shift into a neutral market, or even a buyer's market? Well, like I said before, nobody has that crystal ball, so nobody really knows for sure. However, we do have some data from 2024 that kind of shows us where the market is going, where it's trending, and what we can expect to happen in the future in 2025. Plus, we have some notes from the Federal Reserve about what they plan on doing with interest rates, and it kind of gives us an idea of what to expect going forward in the coming year. So let's go over this data and what I expect to happen in the coming year and what experts expect to happen in the coming year, and let's see what I think might happen, and then we'll go through 2025 together and see what actually happens. We can compare notes at the end of the year and see what does come true and what doesn't come true. It'll be interesting to see. So as I said earlier in the video, we are seeing more houses on the market. We're just seeing more sellers either get fed up with their current house and just want to buy a new house. So they're putting their house on the market and looking for a new one. Or they just have to move for whatever reason. Maybe a job relocation, maybe divorce, maybe their house is just too big for them to handle anymore. Maybe they had that third or fourth kid and their house is too small now. So they have to move for whatever reason. So we're just seeing more and more houses come on the market lately. Now, when I say that there's more inventory, it doesn't necessarily that more and more sellers are necessarily putting the house on the market to sell. It means that fewer houses are selling as quickly as they used to. So as more and more sellers put the house on the market, the inventory is stacking up. So, we had 30 houses last month, and then we added another 30 houses, but only 10 houses from the previous month sold. So, we're adding 30 plus 20, so now there's 50 houses on the market all of a sudden. When, in 2022, all 30 of those houses from the previous month would have sold before this new month. So that's how we're getting more and more inventory on the market. every month is that the previous houses just aren't selling for whatever reason. Maybe they're priced too high, maybe there's something wrong with them, maybe buyers just don't like them for whatever reason. So we're just seeing more and more inventory on the market lately. It's creeping up slowly. It's not an instant thing. We're seeing, in my weekly market reports, we're seeing the inventory creep up by like 3 to 5 houses a week maybe. So nothing drastic, nothing that would say we're heading deep into a buyer's market or anything like that. But on average, I would say 3 to 5 houses a week is kind of like the increase in inventory every week, which is great if you're a buyer because you want more choices. But with increased inventory also means a slower price growth on houses. Now, I do expect housing prices to continue to increase in value just because housing does usually increase in value with the economy. It'll increase at a slower rate than it has in the past few years. So over the COVID years, we were seeing housing prices increase by 10, 20, 30, even 50% year over year. That will dramatically decrease in the coming years, I believe. I think we'll just see housing increase at a more sustainable rate, like the rate of inflation. So 2 to 3 to maybe 5% year over year. That's how we'll see housing prices increase, which is a much more sustainable rate, a much more tolerable rate for buyers. You know, they're not seeing a house go from $150,000 one month to all of a sudden $300,000 the next month. We'll see a house go from $150,000 to maybe $190,000 the next month or the next year. So we'll see a much more sustainable price increase in housing over the next year, which is really good for buyers. For sellers, it's good news for you too. You'll still see your house appreciating in price. It just won't go up as fast as we've seen in the last few years. According to the Federal Reserve at the most recent meeting in November of 2024, we can expect to see several more rate cuts to the prime interest rate. So in their last meeting in November, they just cut the interest rate again by another 0.25%. So experts are believing that they'll probably cut it again in December, but at the time that I'm shooting this video, that meeting hasn't happened yet. By the time this video comes out, they may have had that meeting already. I don't know. They're saying in 2025, they may cut the rate up to 4 times, maybe even more than 4 times again. So if they cut it up to 4 times, that'll probably bring the Federal Reserve interest rate down to like under 4%. Now what that equates to you and me, our interest rates will probably come down to like the maybe 4.5 to 5.5% ish range, depending on your credit and debt to income ratio. Everyone's situation is different, but it'll probably be in that range ish. So that's really good news for buyers because obviously the lower your interest rate, the more purchasing power you have. It's also good news for sellers because trading in that 3% interest rate for 4.5% interest rate does not hurt nearly as bad as it does trading in a 4% interest rate for an 8% interest rate. So it's good news for buyers and sellers, and plus a lower interest rate just increases the number of buyers that are out there to look at your house as a seller. The more buyers that look at your house, the more potential offers you have. So it's good news all around for buyers and sellers with lower interest rates. So we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening with the Federal Reserve, if they do end up cutting interest rates even more, or if they decide to hold them steady. Nobody knows what they're going to do. Even the Federal Reserve doesn't know what they're going to do. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. What I've been saying so far is kind of a national overview. It's like a 30,000 foot overview of what's been happening nationally across the country. But how does that equate to here locally in the Kenosha area? So here in Kenosha, we've kind of seen some of this stuff already playing out. We've already seen inventory is up kind of overall. Like I said, week to week, we're kind of seeing a slow uptick of inventory week to week. Prices are still up. However, they're not going up nearly as fast as they were during COVID. We're seeing listing prices still going up, but not nearly as fast. So when a new house is listed, we're not seeing it listed at some outrageous price that you don't think it'll ever sell for, but somehow still gets an offer because buyers are desperate for a house. We're seeing them listed at a more reasonable price, closer to what comps are selling for in the area. So that's a good news for buyers because buyers cannot just continue to sustain these kinds of crazy prices that have been going on in the Kenosha area. Like I said, we've already had 2 rate cuts by the Federal Reserve in 2024, which means lower rates, which means buyers here in the Kenosha area can afford more house. A lower mortgage payment equates to a higher purchase price, more purchasing power. So a higher purchasing power means that they can buy a larger price house, which is good for sellers. The more house that the buyer can afford, the more expensive house they can buy, means that you can price your house a little more aggressively. I wouldn't say too aggressively, but you can price it a little more aggressively. You still don't want to price it too aggressively because you don't want to scare off buyers. If they think it's overpriced, they just won't even look at it. And personally, what I've noticed here in Kenosha is when I talk to sellers, they've kind of seen the writing on the wall. They're not pricing their houses at ridiculous prices anymore when I'm talking to sellers. They want my honest opinion about what they should price it at. And for the most part, they're taking it. They just kind of give me a price that they want to price it at, and they say I need to walk away with this much money at the end of the sale. So we price it according to that number. And buyers are extremely happy because there seem to be more choices on the market right now. Plus, like I said, prices just aren't going up nearly as fast as they were the last few years. So they can afford more house. The starting price for a house here in Kenosha has gone up over the last few years. So a starter house in Kenosha is probably around $250,000 to $300,000, which is a lot more than it was pre-COVID. But generally, people are making more money, so a lot of buyers can now afford those more expensive houses. But buyers are happier because they can afford more house now with lower interest rates. So there's not quite as much sticker shock when they go out and start looking at houses. Now, of course, when they start looking outside their pre-approval range, then there's that little bit of sticker shock. So what's going to happen with housing prices in 25? Are they going to keep going up? Are they going to stay stable? Are they going to spike up like during COVID? We kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier in the video. Let's dive a little bit deeper into it. So like I said earlier, I expect housing prices to keep going up at a more sustainable level of about 1 to 3% per year, kind of keeping up with inflation. I don't expect to see the big jumps of the 10 to 20 to 40% jumps like we saw during COVID. I expect to see housing prices just kind of going up more sustainably with the pace of inflation, the way that they should be going up every year, not like crazy rates like they did during COVID. So what generally keeps housing prices down is obviously demand. If there's no demand for your house, then obviously buyers aren't going to pay the price that you're asking for it. So that's what helps keep housing prices down. And also inventory. When there's more and more inventory, like we're starting to see more and more inventory, you're just going to start seeing sellers pricing their houses more competitively. They're going to say, you know what? The house on the street is priced at this price. I want to sell my house faster though, so I'm going to undercut them and price it a little bit lower than theirs, or maybe a lot lower than theirs, and hopefully sell my house faster than them and attract more buyers by pricing it lower. So that's one way that helps keep prices down, is just by more inventory, more competition in the marketplace. Also, we'll probably see more inventory in 2025 just because, like I said, people have been holding on to the 3% mortgage. Well, with rates expected to fall down to that maybe 4%, maybe 5% range in 2025, we'll start to see a lot of sellers saying, you know what, it doesn't hurt as much to give up my 3% mortgage rate and trade it in for a 4 or 5% mortgage rate. So we'll probably see a lot of sellers trade in their mortgage rate for a little bit higher of a mortgage rate that isn't super high, but it's just a little bit higher, but it's not as hard to turn in. But they've been waiting all these years to trade up on a house or trade down on a house, but now trading in their mortgage rate doesn't hurt nearly as much. So they'll say, you know what? I'm tired of this house, kick it to the curb, let's go buy a new one. I'm tired of this place. I can deal with another $100, $150 in payment. Let's just go ahead and do it. So basically, expect home prices to keep creeping up, just not nearly as fast as they have in the last 3 or 4 years. They'll probably just creep up a little bit slower with the price of inflation. Now keep in mind that real estate is very local. So the Kenosha and Racine real estate market looks very different from the downtown Milwaukee real estate market. Downtown Milwaukee real estate market will probably stay pretty warm throughout 2025. Just because there's a lot of demand to live in the city, in the big city, especially for younger people who want to be around all that stuff, who want to be close to the jobs, who want to walk everywhere, don't want to have to rely on their own cars and stuff like that. So we'll probably see the Milwaukee real estate market still stay pretty hot throughout 2025, while the rest of the country kind of cools down a little bit. But you never know, it may cool down a little bit as well. Prices in Milwaukee are generally a little bit higher than here in Kenosha, but there's also more demand in Milwaukee. So that just makes sense. Also, our market is very different from the Lake Geneva market. Lake Geneva is more of a destination/vacation housing market. Most people that buy a house in Lake Geneva, they buy it as a second home or a vacation home. It's not generally their primary residence. Of course, there are people that live in Lake Geneva that live there all year round as their primary residence, because they do have a population there, obviously, and people that work there. But most people that buy a house in Lake Geneva, generally speaking, they come there from Illinois or even Iowa or out of state somewhere, and they buy a second home or a summer house on the lake or one of the smaller lakes. And it's their second house or a summer home or a winter cottage maybe. And so Lake Geneva is very much a destination housing market compared to Kenosha, which is a year-round living market. People that live here in Kenosha, they generally live here all year round. They don't usually leave here during the winter or spring and go somewhere else. Now, I want everybody to rest assured that our real estate market is probably going to change in 2025. It's going to change, not collapse, not crash. I still hear a lot of people that tell me that say, I want to wait to buy until the housing market crashes. Well, I think they're going to be waiting a long, long time until the housing market crashes. There are absolutely no signs that the housing market is going to crash anytime soon. So if you're waiting for that mythical crash to happen again, I don't know what to tell you. You can keep waiting if that's what you want to wait for, but there are no signs that the housing market is going to crash anytime soon. So if that's what you're waiting for, I can't stop you from waiting, but you're just gonna end up paying for a higher price for a house. And remember, real estate is local, so don't get scared by those national headlines, by those news headlines, the clickbait headlines that try to get you to click on them by saying the housing market's crashing, or this is happening here, or that's happening there. If you want real advice or the truth about what's happening here in the Kenosha area market, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. I'd be happy to tell you what's happening here locally in the real estate market. Don't believe the national headlines. Those are national headlines. It's what's happening nationally in the real estate market, not what's necessarily happening here in the Kenosha market. So what typically happens is that real estate starts on the coast. It starts on the East Coast or the West Coast and it works its way inwards. So what usually starts on the East Coast or the West Coast, it'll usually hit the Kenosha market 6 to 12 months later. For instance, parts of Florida, Texas, and Arizona are in a very deep buyer's market right now. They had builders build way too much inventory and they just cannot sell it fast enough right now. So they're in a very big buyer's market right now. Now our market is cooling down for sure, but there are no signs that we're gonna hit a very deep buyer's market like they're in right now. Just because we still don't have the inventory that we need for all the buyers that we have. We probably won't be anywhere near a buyer's market for a long, long time. But a neutral market is a very real possibility sometime soon. And a neutral market is probably best for everybody involved. A buyer gets a fair deal and a seller gets a fair deal. So a neutral market is nothing to be scared of and probably the best deal for everybody involved in a real estate transaction. Now we've talked a lot about interest rates in this video, but I want to touch on it a little bit more, just to go a little bit deeper in this video. So the Fed, like I said before, is expected to cut the rate 4 times in 2025. Now, of course, that could always change because the Fed has the right to change their mind at any time. And they might even cut it once more in December of 2024. We don't know what may happen or what may not happen because with Donald Trump taking office, he may put a little pressure on the Fed to cut rates even more than 4 times next year. He may put a little pressure on them to cut the rate even more than a quarter point in December. I don't know. Technically, the president doesn't have any power to put any pressure on them because the Fed is an independent authority in the government. But, the president can try to put a little pressure on them. He can try to persuade them. He can throw his weight around and see what happens. It may work. It may not work. I have no idea. I'm not into politics. I don't play politics. I try and stay out of it as much as I can just because it gives me a headache. So we'll see what ends up happening. Honestly, I think December will probably stay the same, and then we'll probably see, I'm thinking 3 to 4 rate cuts in 2025. But I don't know what will happen. Nobody has that crystal ball. We'll just have to all wait and see what happens. And we'll be in it together, and we'll all come out on the other side. We can talk about it next year and see what ends up happening. Simply put, lower interest rates means more buyers and sellers in the market and more real estate transactions happening. However, with more real estate transactions happening and more buyers and sellers in the marketplace, we could have the opposite effect that I just have been talking about this whole video of a neutral market. If we have too many buyers and sellers in the marketplace, we could revert back to the COVID days where we started driving up prices because there's so many buyers in the market and so many sellers trying to sell their house all of a sudden that it could start driving up prices all of a sudden. I don't think that'll happen, but that is a possibility. So let's just have to wait and see what happens. You never know what'll happen. Nobody knows for sure. I don't think interest rates will get that low that it'll happen, but who knows? We'll see. So should you buy, sell, or wait in 2025? I wish I could tell you that answer. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody has their own priorities. Everybody has their own wants and needs. I can't tell you what to do. All I can tell you is what the market's doing, and all I can offer you is my advice on what you should do. If you'd like to sit down and have a consultation, and I can give you my advice, we can talk about your situation and see what I think is best for you, whether it's to buy or sell now or wait. I'll give you my honest advice, and we can talk through it. Happy to do that with you guys, and we'll see where it goes. If you're a buyer, we'll probably see lower rates in 2025, which means you can afford more and have a lower payment. Hopefully, with how things are looking now, more homes to choose from on the market. So if you're a buyer, 2025 may be your year to buy. If you've been sitting on the sidelines and waiting for lower rates, a lower monthly payment, or more inventory to come on the market, 2025 is probably your year. Is probably your year to finally jump in and just take the plunge and look for that house that you've always been looking for. If you're a seller, 2025 may be your year to change up homes to something that fits your lifestyle a little bit better. Maybe the falling interest rates, buying a home and switching from a 3% mortgage to a 5% mortgage isn't that big of a deal as long as you're getting that dream home now. Is switching from a lower mortgage to a slightly higher mortgage okay with you? I don't know. Is that slightly higher payment a big deal to you? Maybe it'll be a lower payment if you're downsizing in a home. I don't know. Everybody's home situation is different. Everybody's wants and needs are different. We'd have to have that discussion and see what you're looking for, what you want, what you need, see what's out there, and go from there. So no matter your situation, if you need help, reach out to us and let us help you. We can decide together if now is the right time to buy or sell. Or maybe you should stay put in your home or keep renting. I've told people that before, and then 6 months to a year later, they start the process of buying when it makes sense for them. For some of my clients, even though we've seen some of the highest interest rates this year in 2024, buying this year has been the best decision of their life because they found the perfect house for them, their dream house. They absolutely love the house. They were able to afford the monthly payment, and if rates ever fall down to a low enough level, like say that 4.5% or 4% level, they plan on just refinancing. If they never do fall down that low, they can afford the monthly payment right now and they're comfortable. So they're okay with that too. But they found the house they absolutely love and they are super happy with it and they have absolutely no regrets with buying the house that they did in 2024. So if you're thinking about buying a house in 2025, reach out to me. I would love to help you and offer you some advice. So we talked about a lot today. Let's recap real quick. No one knows for sure what's going to happen in 2025. Interest rates should continue to go down, but again, nobody has that crystal ball, and the Federal Reserve is always a wild card. Home prices should continue to rise, but at a much slower pace. Good news if you're a seller. We are headed into more of an even market, which I think is good for buyers and sellers. Buyers get a good deal, sellers get a good deal, and everybody wins at the end of the transaction. People always need to move no matter what the market is doing. So whether it's a buyer's market, a neutral market, or a seller's market, whether interest rates are high, whether they're low, no matter what the market is doing, people always need to move. There's transactions that happen every day. So if you need to buy or you need to sell, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you out. Real estate is very local. So our market is very different from the Milwaukee market, the Lake Geneva market, the Chicago market, the Green Bay market, any other market like that. Just keep that in mind. Real estate is very local. So if you're a seller and your wife's second cousin is a realtor and they happen to live in Appleton and you live here in Kenosha, maybe you don't want to hire them to sell your house because they don't know the Kenosha market that well. Maybe you want to look for a local realtor here in Kenosha. even if that realtor is not me, just find a local realtor here in Kenosha to help you out. Find a realtor that knows the market a lot better than somebody that's way out of the market area. Don't let the national headlines scare you. Always talk to the local market expert. That's me, by the way. If you have any questions about the real estate market, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. All my contact information is down below. I'm happy to help out any way that I possibly can. There are absolutely no signs that the market is collapsing anytime soon, that we're heading into a 2008 style market. So if you're waiting for the market to collapse, if you're waiting for that market crash, I think you're gonna be waiting for a very long time. Lower rates mean more buyers and probably more sellers too. So 2025 looks like a good year for real estate. If you're buying in 2025, you should have a lower mortgage payment because of lower interest rates, which means more buying power. So you can buy more house with it, which is a good thing. If you're selling in 2025, you should have a larger pool of buyers, which is a good thing. More eyes on your house is always a good thing. And plus, trade in that old interest rate, which is probably a lower 2020 interest rate, for a little bit of a higher interest rate, shouldn't hurt so much. It may still sting a little bit, but it shouldn't sting as much as trading in for like a 8% interest rate or a 7.5% interest rate. Everyone's situation is different. So if you're thinking about buying, selling, or just sitting on the sidelines and waiting for a little while longer, that's okay. Just give me a call or shoot me a text. I'd be happy to talk it through with you, and we can decide together which option is best for you. Leave me your questions or thoughts about the 2025 market in any other videos you'd like to see me do on this channel down in the comment section here below. I respond to every comment that I see down there, and I'd be happy to do any videos that you guys would like me to do. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, please make sure you hit that like button. It really helps me out with YouTube's algorithm and helps them promote my video even further to a wider audience. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to make sure that you're notified every time that I drop a new video, at least twice a week, sometimes more often. I hope that you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next video.